Fucking Christ, Ben. It's words about books. I think there's no other way to introduce this one. So real quick, I guess a quick explanation, Ben. So every year since we started the Patreon, the voting, I decided to do a losers bracket where all the runners up get put in. So over the course of a year, and we pick one of those books. So from 12 books, we get one that we already put up there that maybe just lost out because there's something more popular. I don't know. And last year, I asked if we wanted to do Nate's Nightmare November, and Ralph Nader won. And then I forgot to put up another poll. So when it came down to the losers bracket, I just put Nate's Nightmare November comes early. And that won. And then I decided, this book has been something I've been eyeing for a while, because of the title. Ever since we did the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and Bridget Jones's Diary. And ever since you gave me Man in the High Tower, I was like, maybe I give this to Ben for Christmas. Fuck that guy. But, I decided it's been a while since I picked a book I knew neither of us would like intentionally picked one. Because, obviously we are not the target demographic for this book. But, man, this turned out so much worse than I could have ever imagined. I think the only way this could be worse is if this were a real story and O.J. Simpson were involved.
Nathaniel Creed, I do not know you. You are dead to me. I have cut you out of my will. I never want to hear from you again.
Did you do the audiobook on this one?
And I have no co-host. You are dead to me. Yeah, I did the audiobook. It's very annoying.
It's awful. Yeah.
I don't know if there is a worse accent. It works for Gambit. Gambit can do a Cajun accent, but I don't know of a worse accent.
Yeah.
Which isn't what I was doing. I don't know what I was doing. I was doing an impression of a lady doing an impression of Scarlett O'Hara. But yeah, God. Yeah, no, I was telling you, I think in terms of worst books we've ever read on this podcast, I think number one most offensive thing I've ever read, I've told you I don't know if we can go lower than this, is If I Did It, This Is How It Would Have Happened by O.J. Simpson, which is a Patreon exclusive because it's so offensive. And then this.
Yeah, then this comes right after that.
And then Ready Player One.
I think Ready Player 2 is also...
No, Ready Player One is where... No. Because Ready Player 2 doesn't even merit, being hated.
It's not even a book.
Yeah, that's just a waste of time. It's not interesting enough to hate. Ready Player One is awful. Yeah, so this is so much worse than I thought it could be.
Yeah. I didn't think a book called The Divine Secrets of the Ya Sisterhood could be this awful, Ben.
So we've read what? We've read 3, quote unquote, chick-lit books. We've read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Bridget Jones's Diary, and Divine Secrets of the Ya Sisterhood.
Yeah.
And I really thought what we were getting into here was another case of Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
That's exactly what I thought.
I'm not the target demographic. No one wrote this book with me in mind. I'm not supposed to like it. I'm not supposed to relate to it. And that's fine. Not everything has to be for me. So I thought, in the grand scheme of things, I thought Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants was fine for what it is. I personally hated it, but it wasn't like an offensive book. I understand why people like that book. Bridget Jones' Diary was just vapid. I don't know if there's another word for it. It's just so shallow. And there's just nothing there. But somehow that is still better than this. Because Bridget Jones' Diary, I think, while there are some harmful like tendencies and stereotypes, it's mostly treated in a comedic, harmless way. It's kind of Bridget Jones' Diary is attempting to be a comedy, and so these things exist in a surreal space where the consequences of them, kind of don't exist.
All right, so you froze on my screen. I don't think I got most of that after you stopped talking about Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and moved into this, but I assume all of it will record, so.
It should record, yeah. If you're hearing me now, then you're good.
Okay.
So, yeah, that wasn't really for you anyway. So this, I think I'm going to start with content warnings because I think this is actually like a really, really bad book to exist. It's really bad
Yes.
that this is so popular.
I agree. This is actually terrible.
It's so some content warnings here, like narcissist parents, child abuse. I don't know how deep we'll get into the like eating disorder stuff. I don't even know, is there time to tackle the racism? Like,
the book didn't seem to think so. The
that's
book was
true.
just presenting this as this is how things were, and then we just
Isn't
kept going.
Louisiana great? How do they say it? Louisiana. Because they can't say any of the letters in the word. God. I'm torn between, like, I live in the north, so I'm mostly exposed to like the Quebecois French. I don't know the Bayou French. And even with my limited understanding of French, I hate the accent, even in French. So yeah, as far as Louisiana goes, New Orleans sounds awesome.
Yeah.
New Orleans
Everything else
is amazing, and everything else about that state is just a backdrop for horror movies about slavery. See, now you cut out for me, and I don't know.
All right. Well, hold on. Let's restart. Let me restart my computer.
Are you sure?
And we're back. And what I was saying is that Louisiana is lucky that Alabama and Mississippi exist.
Oh yeah.
I also know someone from Louisiana who was pretty happy to get out of there and said that Southern hospitality was bullshit. Everyone's kind of mean, and the Midwest should really be the one that gets all the props for having the good hospitality. So, we'll take that from you too. Just like we took away your slaves, you fuck. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let's talk about the author a little bit, I guess.
Go for it. I did no research because as soon
I
as I knew
to.
what this book was about,
I
was
had
like,
to do
I hate
research
this.
because I knew what this book was about. Dude, at a certain point, I'm listening to this book on like 3 times speed. I'm just like, is Vivi going to apologize?
No. Absolutely not.
Okay. Then I think I know everything I need to know. All right. So, Rebecca Wells. This may not surprise you to learn. I think her primary job is in the theater.
Okay.
I believe she directs plays. She probably
I heard the book was written kind of like that, but I had the audio, so.
She has written, I think, 3 fiction books, as far as I know, all of them about yayas. And this is the only proper novel. The others are collections of short stories. They sure did. They had a movie with Professor McGonagall,
Oh my
and
god.
a bunch of other people. Sandra Bullock was there. I don't think I
Of course.
recognized anybody else. I tried to do a little bit more research. I couldn't stomach the interviews. I found her website and her LinkedIn. She offers one-on-one coaching if you want
Yeah.
her to teach you how to write. She's not a bad writer. I don't know that the writing was the problem, though. She's a little too in love with the word yaya.
I hate it.
Gumbo yaya. Trey yaya, no. That comes up a lot. And
Yeah. If you don't like the word yaya, this book is not for you.
yeah, it is a disproportionate amount of the book. Yeah, so she offers one-on-one coaching. She studied Jungian psychology and
Ooh.
Tibetan Buddhism,
Okay.
which are kind of both. I guess at the time she would have been in school, they're kind of both like new agey adjacent things. Like obviously, Tibetan Buddhism is a religion that people do take seriously, but I've addressed this before with A Dirty Job and some other books we've covered. Tibetan Buddhism has like kind of the most magic stuff of the various sects of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And so it's very attractive to new agey people who are looking to practice essentially magic.
I don't know anyone who uses Jungian psychiatry or psychology anymore.
I don't know that Jungian psychology is super effective, like in terms of medical science.
It is super not.
That checks. Jungian psychology, you might not be surprised to hear this. I am most familiar with Jungian psychology via the Goblin Universe type stuff.
Of fucking course.
Yeah, they tend to people in like UFO circles and cryptid circles and all, again, new age adjacent type stuff. They tend to like Jungian psychology because it ties in with that Joseph Campbell mono myth. Like there's the Jungian archetypes that they seem to be ingrained in the human DNA. Like where did that come from and all that. It's very like
Came from some goblins spooging in our DNA.
I think Jordan Peterson is super in love with Jung.
Well, that's unfortunate for Carl Jung.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately for Carl Jung, he died before he ever had to meet Jordan Peterson.
That is true. Good for him.
Yeah, it's the best. Hey, he knew when to peace. He got out while the getting was good. There's a little bit of a new agey kind of undercurrent. The story is set in 1993. The book was published in 1998, around then.
Something like that, or 7, one of those two.
The movie comes out in 2002, 2003, and I think the movie is where this really goes nuts.
Even more so than this book.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's where the popularity explodes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Without the movie, I don't know if any of us know The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood as a title.
To be fair, I didn't.
I'd heard of it, like I'd heard of it in the same way I've heard of The Devil Wears Prada and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Until this podcast, until you, I didn't know necessarily what any of those things meant. The Devil Wears Prada, I thought was a screamo band, but
I think I watched The Devil Wears Prada. I
don't think I did. I think I'm confusing it with an Elizabeth Hurley movie where she plays the devil and grants wishes to Brendan Fraser.
I definitely wore it. I definitely watched it, and I have no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds like it's cool. But Brendan Fraser did have a period of time where everything he touched was shit, so I don't know.
I don't think it holds up, probably, but
Yeah, I remember. I watched The Devil Wears Prada with my wife.
yeah. Well, this was also like at the height of the Sandra Bullock craze.
There was a craze.
She was in a bunch of stuff there for a minute, and then like nothing. There are so many movie people in our podcast sphere of orbit who can handle this discussion better than me, though. So, um, yeah, this was a huge thing. I remember it blowing up. I was kind of there for it. It targets women a bit older than my demographics, so like I didn't know many like I didn't know any girls who read this. I think it targets like the main character, who is the daughter. It's a mother-daughter relationship kind of thing. The main character is 40, I think. I think she's right on 40.
Yes, and
So I think it targets women who are now close to my age, but at the time it came out, not very close to my age. And uh Vivi, I guess, then would be like in her 70s.
close to 70s, and still making waves, Ben. Oh,
That's what happens when you're a dangerous alcoholic.
that's what
You
happens
make
when you
waves.
never ever grew up.
Yeah. When you're an emotionally stunted alcoholic narcissist, you do tend to be noticed wherever you go.
I I did. At first, I was like, "Oh, this might be tackling some more like mature subject matter."
It
I was
wants
like,
to.
"Yeah, it sure does want to, and sure does not quite meet those lofty goals." I remember I sent you a message. I was like, "I think this might be better than Sisterhood or Bridget Jones," and then my next message, like 20 minutes later, was, "I spoke too soon."
You know the difference. Like I'll tell you the key thing. Sorry, I burned my throat last night. I might crack, but no. The key thing here is a mother daughter relationship, whereas in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, it was peer group, interconnected relationship.
I mean, the peer group is also very important here to the exclusion of a lot of other people, but
Yeah, uh, but I think the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants at least knew like the dangerous behavior was dangerous.
yeah,
The villains were villains. The
yeah, yeah.
like Bridget is
They
portrayed
also
as having a serious emotional breakdown, not
they
as being a
also
quirky, cute, making waves character.
they were also 16, so they had that excuse going for them. They
Yeah,
weren't adults, so they weren't expected to make adult decisions.
like okay, I mean in the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Bridget is obviously the most problematic character. She's the one that tries to seduce an older man. She goes out to a bar in Mexico, like she's just asking for trouble. Um and she's very lucky she doesn't get it. And you're supposed to be like, yeah, oh no, she's kind of unstable, she's kind of swinging wildly, and then like one of the other girls has to come and like support her, and that's a nice gesture, and like we recognize that, oh, like she's going through something, she needs support, she needs help. And it makes it easier to forgive Bridget because A, she hasn't hurt anyone besides herself, and she certainly did not beat a child's face in with the buckle end of a belt.
Yeah,
So there's that.
and again,
um
16 years old,
yeah, and
so
at 16 she still made better choices than Vivi at almost every stage.
pretty much every stage of Vivi's life. Yeah.
And so the book, what it's trying to do, because it's really just like a series of anecdotes, which I knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
The overarching theme here is three generations of women in this one
Four.
family.
Four generations. Her great grandmother is briefly mentioned as also being a piece of shit.
Okay, whatever. So
her grandma got back at her own mother by stealing her sister's husband, Ben.
what's her oh shit, what do they call her grandmother?
Buddy?
Buckleby or something? It's
It sounded like Buddy to me.
no, they call her something. I can't remember. I don't think it was French. But yeah, I forget what they call her. But so there's grandma, mom, daughter.
Buggy.
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 There you go. So there's grandma, mom, daughter. Grandma is a super Catholic, super unhappy in her marriage woman
Because
who,
again, she seduced her sister's significant other, who then ran around on her all the rest of their
yeah,
marriage.
so who'd have thought when a marriage starts off on that foot that's how it's going to go.
I couldn't have seen it coming.
So she's super Catholic. She low-key hates her daughter, very jealous of her, very jealous of all the affection her husband lavishes on his daughter as opposed to her, which is none. And she doesn't treat the daughter very well. She yells at her. She takes a gift that is given from the daughter and calls her a harlot and all this stuff. And then eventually she sends her to a Catholic boarding school. That's a whole thing.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And this is Vivi. This is the girl who's being abused, and it is abusive. It's emotionally abusive, low key physical abusive. She mentions her dad hits her with a belt. I've been hit with a belt. I don't know necessarily what that means. I a lot of old school parenting styles.
I've never been hit with a belt.
I've been hit with a belt. I've been hit with a wooden spoon.
I've been spanked, but never with an object.
I've had weapons involved. So
Yeah.
I don't never like buckle. I didn't bleed.
You didn't piss yourself.
Yeah, so I would say
You didn't have to protect your siblings from being beaten.
Yeah,
With your body.
And neither did Vivi, as far as I know. That's the thing. Like, she's described as having endured corporal punishment from her father, who preferred like the belt to a conversation. And that is not great, but I don't think it's anywhere near what Vivi dishes out, because we're talking cycles of abuse here. So the cycle normally, like, again, it would kind of be.
We need another book to explore her grandmother, Ben, to see like how hard did her grandmother hit. Maybe Vivi got it worse than we know,
that would actually help, Nate, if we had that established, because then we would at least see that Vivi's trying to do better, falling short of the mark, but
she's definitely doing worse.
She's doing worse.
She's doing worse by far.
The abuse she inflicts seems far worse than the abuse inflicted upon her.
Yes.
Which is not great. Not a great foot to start off on. And then Vivi, of course, we've referenced this numerous times. Vivi, she has what she considers to be a traumatic childhood. I don't know that it's necessarily crazy worse than what a lot of us go through, and maybe my childhood's worse than many, and I know people who have worse than mine, but she deals with.
I can only point to like two significant things in her childhood that were like exceptionally bad.
She deals with an amount of adversity. I don't know that it's as game breaking. I mean, trauma is relative. If it's traumatic to you, then it's traumatic.
Right.
And because of this, she winds up with a contentious relationship with her daughter. She's unintentionally, quote unquote, I guess, abusive to her daughter. And this all culminates with her daughter at the age of 40 finally getting ready to get married, settle down. And her daughter suddenly has it's all predicated on this. Her daughter has produced a successful play or directed a successful play, and the New York Times has interviewed her.
Yeah, she made her dreams, Ben.
And
she made her dreams come true. She's somebody. She finally did what she wanted to do, and she made it to Broadway.
Yeah. So
wouldn't you be so happy for your child if they made their dreams come true and they have a successful play on Broadway?
Yeah, if I wasn't some kind of alcoholic swamp hick, but yeah. So Sita is Vivi's daughter. It'll be better to use names from here on out. So Sita talks to the New York Times. They ask her about her past, and she describes some of the incidents in her past. And the New York Times winds up calling her mother, quote, a tap dancing abuser, which is
tap dancing child abuser.
She does a lot more child abuse than tap dancing. I'm just going to say that was generous. I don't even
remember much of the tap dancing.
I think that was a generous inclusion by the New York Times. Like tap dancing and abuser, those are the two things you think of when you think of Vivi.
And they brought up things like she was spicing Sita's milk with Tabasco sauce, and I'm like, okay, ha ha ha, like a stupid prank. It's not great, but like if that was the worst that Vivi did, That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Comparatively, she'd be like a saint.
Yeah, you come to find out throughout the book that Sitta has downplayed the abuse. And Vivi, so anyway, Vivi, the book opens with Vivi being terribly mad about this New York Times interview, disowning Sitta,
No
and then
wonder every relationship you ever had turns to shit. She tells to her daughter,
takes one to know one, Mom.
I wish you guilt. And she disowns her. She's removed her from her will. She never wants to talk to her daughter again. Which I think this is what? The third of her 4 children who probably don't talk to her anymore.
All the other children are mentioned as, quote, not keeping in contact, except one, the youngest one, I think, keeps in contact.
Yeah, I think the youngest one still kept in contact, but the other 3 were like, I'm out.
So after this feud, which sends Sitta into panic attacks and symptoms of post-traumatic stress, to be honest.
Yeah.
And Sitta talks to a therapist. She also has a Jungian dream analyst. Maybe that's part of the problem here.
Yeah, there's your problem right there. Stop analyzing your dreams.
So Sitta needs to embark. This is where the book starts to go wrong. Chapter 1. Sitta.
It all goes wrong right at the beginning. It just never gets back on the rails.
Sitta decides to embark on a quest to better understand her mother and therefore seek her forgiveness. And
yeah,
that's when Sitta is sent a scrapbook called The Divine Secrets
Ben,
of the
you're
Sisterhood.
really downplaying that. First, she calls off her wedding.
Yeah.
She's like, sorry, Connor. I have to postpone the wedding because I don't know how to love. And then she calls her mom, and her mom is like, I'm not talking to you. And she's like, okay, but I'm calling off the wedding. And she's like, well, I'm still not talking to you. And then she calls the Ya Sisterhood.
Yeah.
And Misi, Caro,
Nisi, Sneezy, Dopey, Doc.
Yeah. And, by our powers combined, we need to figure out how to help my daughter out.
It's a real old lady Voltron situation.
Yeah, and one of them has the power of needing oxygen all the time, and one of them has the power of religion, and one of them has the power of nudity all the time. So, and being Cajun. So they're like, "Well, send her the scrapbook," and it's like,
no, they say send her the Divine Secrets.
The Divine Secrets. That's right. They're pressuring her to send the Divine Secrets. And
can you imagine if we talked like this? Like, can you imagine if we came up with weird little code names for our podcast and stuff? Like you don't send me the tracks from the recording last night.
Send me the sacred tomes.
Send me the sacred scrolls of wisdom.
We'll put it on the golden feed to all of our followers. Oh, so yeah, she's like, see this smile that Sitta had when she got engaged. It's like one of the most genuine smiles she ever had. She loves this boy. She needs to go through marrying him. And they're all like, you should go talk to her. No, I'm not going to talk to her under no circumstance. I'm still mad at her, and I don't know what I would say, and I'm never talking to her. So she settles for instead sending the Divine Secrets scrapbook, Ben.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she mentioned Sitta hasn't smiled that way since she was like 3 years old. So.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking. It's crazy.
She's 40 years old. She still doesn't know you were institutionalized for beating her.
Yeah, she thought you ran away because it was her fault.
Yeah. Okay, so let's we could talk about the various scenarios, but the Ya Sisterhood, what is that? So there's these 4 girls. They meet at a Shirley Temple lookalike contest that goes on for way too fucking long. Oh, did they meet at that
Shirley Temple lookalike contest?
I don't know. That's the first story.
So I originally thought this was kind of funny until I understood that they were not saying the word that they were saying. They're at the Shirley Temple lookalike contest, and I think she said that fuck, what's her name?
Teensy.
Cajun Teensy. Teensy pooted. At first, I thought the recording said she pooped, like she just shit her pants on stage, and I started laughing. I was like, "Oh my god, what? What is wrong with this lady? She just shit her pants on stage." But then it turns out
Lady, she's
no.
like 6.
Yeah, she's like 8 at the time.
Yeah.
But instead, no, she just farted. She did not shit her
And that
pants.
doesn't do it for old Nate.
That doesn't do it. That's not gonna work for me, brother.
You want comedy, we better be dealing in solids here.
So Sita. So the reason we know about this, but presumably, I don't think Sita does. Right? She looks at the scrapbook. She sees there's a picture of a Shirley Temple. It's like a news article where they were disqualified for unladylike behavior, and she's like, "I wonder what that
I
means."
think
And
we're
then
to
we, the audience,
understand.
get it, but she doesn't. She's just like, "I don't know what any of this means." So we're seeing the story, and Sita's just staring at a picture, going, I'm blanking. What the fuck is this?"
I think we're to understand there is some amount of material in there that, like, Sita, we're seeing what Sita is seeing. I don't know.
I did not get that at all.
I don't care about.
Sita goes to a cabin in the woods in Washington,
So
and she sifts through the scrapbook, or sorry, the Divine Secrets, and we learned that Teensy did not, in fact, shit her pants during the Shirley Temple lookalike contest.
okay, there's a through line in all these flashbacks, right? That Vivi, it's. I've seen this summarized so many times. A description of this book is a daughter learns to understand the person her mother was before she got married and had kids, and that there's this like theme of like your parents had a whole life before they had you, and like at fucking 40 you should know that.
Yeah, congrats.
But
Yeah, that is weird. She's 40 years old. It's like
yeah, well, she's emotionally stunted in a lot of ways, and we'll find out with very good reason.
I wonder why. That's
She
crazy.
is Sita exhibits throughout this entire book, and I'm not going to cite every example of it as we go, but like textbook examples of abused child. She is
Yep.
insanely sensitized to her mother's moods. You can tell she has spent, and she describes this, and I think she explicitly states that she talked to a therapist about this, that she has learned to attune herself to any subtle hint of discord in any room. She's always on the lookout for who might burst into a fit of anger, because you never knew what you were getting with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Sita is triggered by the smell of bourbon because her mother is a
Mm-hmm.
drunk and bourbon is her drink of choice. And you never knew when bourbon was involved. Are you going to get the good Vivi or the bad Vivi? And
Sita's parentified. She's the oldest, so she has to look after her 4 younger siblings. And at times, she has to look after her mom, too.
yeah,
Hey, it's Editor Nate here. Both Ben and I are confused on the number of siblings that Sita actually has. I said 3 earlier, I said 4 here. So she has 3 younger siblings and also a twin that died. So I guess technically she has 4 siblings, but she only had to raise 3 of them. Which I guess makes her more of a mother than Vivi ever was, despite having no actual kids of her own. Imagine that. Anyway, yeah, she's got 3 younger siblings, not 4. Just to clarify that, it's going to come up a number of times, and I'm not going to correct it later on because, fuck, why would I want to put that much effort into this? Because her dad also doesn't really do much of anything.
yeah, we'll talk about him.
I mean, at least he works. I guess he has that over Vivi.
He's a farmer. I mean, I don't know, like, that's
Is
kind
he
of a
a
sun up.
farmer?
Yeah, that's kind of a sun up to sundown job.
Wow,
He has a
I did
cotton
not
farm.
get that. That okay. Could you have picked a different type of farm? Like,
No, they don't care about that. They live in a plantation house. He has a cotton farm, and a series
and they,
of barely named black women raise each of these kids.
yeah, that's.
And the one night they don't, she takes off. It's insane what a terrible person Vivi is. But there's this theme, right? So
She also
Sitta,
felt guilt that she would outshine her mom.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, because that's one of the triggers, is like anytime Vivi's not the center of attention, Vivi flips out.
She's a
So
narcissist.
she's a total narcissist. And so Sitta is very obviously an abused child, like textbook abused child. I don't know if Rebecca Wells knows this. That's the thing I
Yeah,
kept wondering is
because I had to ask you if, like, am I supposed to like or at least understand Vivi? Because I don't.
you could
I have
train,
no sympathy for her whatsoever.
like, you could not find a better textbook example of like the signs to watch out for in an abused child than Sitta's behavior. Like I have seldom seen it so on the nose, almost as if it's intentional. Now, Rebecca Wells, from Louisiana, involved in the theater, she has many commonalities with Sitta, but she insists this is not an autobiographical story. Though, of course, she would, because if Vivi was her mother and she told an autobiographical story, then she would be disowned
Yeah,
and
cut off
you know.
forever, and
Uh,
yeah.
so I don't know where she's drawing this inspiration from. Maybe she has talked about that. I didn't find it,
Yeah, I did
but
have that quote. She used to know her mom's body so well, but now she's like, "Huh, that's weird. I don't know it anymore." And my thing just said, "Yeah, good. That's a good thing that you don't know her body intimately like your own. You're
yeah,
40. She's almost 70. This is a good thing."
yeah, it's healthy to have your own life, um, and for the world not to center on Vivi. Um, so yeah, there's that undercurrent of a child learning to understand their parent, but again, Sitta is not a child, but she is childlike in many ways, which is a symptom of what Vivi has done to her. And there's also this through current in Sitta's arc of learning to forgive Vivi, which she does not need to do, and frankly should
At
not do.
all.
Uh,
No.
um, there's this
You know,
under,
you know, you know what would help in that arc is if Vivi at any point in time said, "I'm
sought
sorry."
forgiveness in any way, shape,
And
or form.
yes, and
Yeah,
actually acknowledge what she did was wrong and that she was maybe not a great mother.
yeah, that I really thought, like, I kept hanging on to the book. I was like, I kept reserving judgment for their final meeting between Vivi and Sitta, where I wanted to see, does Vivi say, I'm so sorry? And she does not.
No,
She
not at
retains
all.
all of that stupid pride. Everybody pays court to her. Sitta says, I'm sorry. Sitta
Yes, Sitta
apologizes.
of all people apologizes.
And that was infuriating. And Rebecca Wells, if I don't know who you are in this situation, I don't know if you more closely identify with Sitta or Vivi, but like, goddamn, I'm either sorry that happened to you or you're a piece of shit. I don't know which,
Yeah.
but there's this undercurrent of like Vivi does not deserve to be defined by the worst things she's ever done. And I agree with that. But at the same time, when you hurt people, like when you do bad things, and especially when you do things that constitute abuse, the way Vivi has, you need to make amends in order to move past that. Otherwise, if you're proud of what you've done, like Vivi seems to be proud of the way she raised her children.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was a
maybe
great
she
mother if only 4 of my 5 kids don't talk to me anymore.
maybe she got mad sometimes. Maybe she beat
Hey,
you bloody,
Only
and the neighbors had to intervene, and she
that
wound up
only
in an
happened one time
institution.
though, as she wanted to point out. She beat him before, but only once did she beat them to the point where she drew blood and made Sita piss herself. That
Okay.
only happened once.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if it happened again, you were going to jail, I guess. So probably should have gone to jail the first time, to be honest. But
yeah, so I guess I know we'll get to that because it's really elaborated on at the end, but I thought she was postpartum and having postpartum psychosis, and I was really mad to find out that Sita was 10 at the time.
see, that's the other thing. There's an element of that because look, if this was going to be a story of the legitimate emotional toll having a child can take on especially a mother, um I'd be there for it. I think we need more honest conversations about that because a lot of people get trapped by shame that they don't feel unconditional love all the time for their newborn child, and
Mhm.
that leads them to keep secrets and internalize, and that's not healthy. And the more we talk about it, the better that'll be. But that's not what's
This was not
happening.
this.
That's
Yeah.
not what's happening
Uh,
here. She barely raises her children. I mean, yeah, the dad's not there most of the time. She has servants. And like that's another thing that's really downplayed in this whole narrative.
yeah, I don't remember them talking about her servants until over halfway through the book,
The
or maybe I
Yayas
just
are
didn't
all
catch it.
fairly wealthy.
Fairly wealthy. I mean, by Louisiana standards,
No,
so
by normal American standards,
normal American.
they cruise through the Great Depression.
Ah, that is true.
They don't have any problem. Her dad's breeding horses and selling them in Cuba. He's fine. He's traveling the world. None of them suffer 1 ounce during the Depression. They talk about watching other people suffer. They talk about occasionally being yelled at for giving food to homeless people. Um, then they
Can you
move.
imagine if Jesus did something like that? Disgusting.
But yeah, everybody seems to live on like a mansion or a plantation house. Everybody,
And they have black servants.
yeah, they have black servants. They go on plenty of trips. They go to see like the screening of Gone with the Wind when that comes out. They're present when like the cast are walking the red carpet or whatever the equivalent is, and I guess the dusty
Yeah, they've
road.
got even more well off family in like Georgia.
Yeah, so they're not hurting at all, and they continue like none of them have jobs. None of the Yayas have jobs.
Yeah, that's because their men are holding them back, Ben.
There was an infuriating through line
if
in
if I were
in
all by myself and I didn't have these kids or this husband, I would have been rich and famous or like a tennis player or a Hollywood star,
I was
and
actually going to
they
go
were just holding me
one
back.
a little back from that. Like I do understand at the time these women would have been growing up, women could not have a checking account in their own name. They needed a father or a husband, and that's super fucked up. But there's this through line of mama never had a checking account. Well,
She
I
also
don't.
didn't have a job.
That was my thing. I was like, she also didn't have money because she didn't have a
Yeah.
job. And I have never once, I've heard her complain a lot about not having her own money. I've never heard her complain once about not being allowed to get a job.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Um, because women have jobs in this, right? Certainly the black women do.
Sure, yeah, I was
um, so it's not like that couldn't happen somehow. But yeah, Vivi's not about to work, but she does demand her own cash flow. And then the one time she has her own cash flow, she uses it to do something incredibly irresponsible and stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, there's maybe you shouldn't have money, just large amounts of it. It'd be really bad.
Yeah,
I guess we should say what the Yayas are, right?
that
They
was
have
going to be my next thing.
their
Yeah,
own anniversaries, and so when they were younger, when after they were finished scrubbing the Virgin Mary that her dad got from Cuba because it was brown, and her mom was like, "No, Virgin Mary wasn't brown. You need to take turpentine and completely remove all of her features."
I've got bad
Um,
news for her mom.
she's dead, so so after they were done doing that, they had a little sleepover camp out thing, and by camp out I mean it was like on their porch, and when her mom went to bed, they went out into the forest, I think, and by like down by the creek,
Yep.
and they did a ritual, which turned into a blood oath to always be there for each other and to always remain together. And
Oh, you don't want to give their uncomfortable backstory?
they are Native Americans, Ben. Their tribe was wiped out, and they were the four survivors, and they're all princesses and duchesses and whatnot. And
As they had. Yeah.
yes, as the Native Americans had, yeah,
Yep.
and that is why they're the Yaya tribe.
Yep.
That
And it
is.
and everybody around them acknowledges this and thinks it's super adorable, and it persists into their 70s.
And they have Yaya anniversaries that their husbands always acknowledge that are more important than their own like marriage anniversaries. And
There's another
the
thing that bothered me. As a I guess here's the thing. Because this is one of Vivi's complaints is her husband is not there, not super involved, not super interested. And I don't know which came first, though I have a suspicion based on how she talks about him. Uh, the Yayas, like Sita remembers that they always used to hang out with the Yayas, and the children are called the Petit Yayas. And they joke about the men. They talk about how all the fathers are stupid and not Yaya. They're not in the club. The kids are in the club, but the fathers aren't in the club. So you guys are Yayas. You could be part of our cool club. Watch Teensy do a striptease for you. That happens.
yeah, that
Teensy
happens.
Teensy loves to be nude, and like you could maybe say like, oh, it's don't be prudish. It's a non-sexual kind of nudity. It's just a natural state, but it's a striptease. So like, what? And then they keep talking about how the men are stupid and insignificant and not part of the club, and then they're like, why aren't the men ever around? Why don't they want to hang out with us despite being undermined constantly?
Yeah.
And talked about behind their backs, and um basically just be, and especially in the case of Vivi, who boy is Shep her silver medal.
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
she could have been with Jacques,
Jacques, Teensy's brother.
the bold Jacques who played a Cajun fiddle and spoke with a delightful yet grating accent. And sometimes he said French, but you couldn't really understand it because it was that weird Cajun French. Um, Je m'appelle Jacques, mon petit cher.
She
Mon
could have
petit
had
chou.
Jacques.
Mon cher, mon petit chou. I know a little bit. But yeah, so Jacques dies in World War II. I don't even know how much worth going into that is, but
Oh
like,
man, poor Jacques. Who would have seen that coming when he enlisted that he would die?
I knew when they said he was going to be a pilot in Europe, I was like, oh,
Ah, so he's not coming back, is what you're telling me.
yeah.
Let's
So you want to
put
make
that
sure,
timer on the screen.
but like, I mean, he's like, I want to make sure if I get shot, I die. Like, that's
Yeah.
pilot for me. Pilot's life for me. Uh, I'm not coming back with any crippling wounds. I want to hit the ground at speed.
And then I want the fuel to go off just to be
Yeah.
extra sure.
World War II propeller plane. I want two little blades keeping me afloat.
It's
Yeah,
like you're just trying to impress your dad. Yeah. Yeah,
he's
that's true.
impressed.
Yeah, he's pretty impressed.
You die real good, Jacques. So, and then Jacques' mom goes nuts and all that. So Jacques was the love of her life, and everybody acknowledges that. which is another great thing for Shep. Everybody in town knows that Jacques was the love of Vivi's life. No one is ever going to measure up to Jacques, especially not that bumpkin Shep. But here's Shep. He's the father. She marries him, and
because he could make her laugh or whatever, and
yeah, and
that's enough.
everybody constantly tells him what an inadequate piece of shit he is. But you know, Vivi's full-time job is to be a wife and mother, so she's got to be good at least one of the two, right?
Let me look here. My note says Vivi would often drink and say, "Get away from me! I cannot stand to look at you." To Sita. So yeah, it's Shep's fault though.
So we're putting a
He
lot
were
of
just Jacques.
eggs in that wife basket.
if she bore 5 kids like back to back to back, almost 6. I guess she bore 6, and Sita's twin died. But
oh yeah, you had a theory about that.
I had a theory about that.
That it was because she drank.
Oh shit! Oh fuck yeah! Right at the end of the fucking book, actually, someone shows like, here's all the yayas, all pregnant, and Sita jokes like, "I'm sure that my brother is doing real great with all that cigarette smoke and alcohol," and I was like, oh my fucking god! Did
she drank and smoked while she was pregnant?
She drank and smoked while she was pregnant,
and one of the twins died.
How did they not all have fetal alcohol syndrome?
Maybe they do, man.
Maybe they do. Fucking hell.
Yeah. So, I guess you just really have to keep saying like, and as you learn more about Vivi, just remember, you apologize to her because she's so goddamn important.
Yes, she's the reason that we're here.
There is a point where one of the yayas, in case you were wondering if you were supposed to like the other ones, says to Sita,
"It's Caro," because
yeah, it's Smokey McBlacklung says, "Look, your mother may be an abusive alcoholic, but she's luminous."
She also said, "Yeah, she may have fucked you up, just like all mothers have fucked their daughters up.
No,
but
not
she
just
did
like
it with style." She did it with style, man.
Yeah.
I hope that's that it gives you some solace.
She cracked
did it with
that
style.
whip like Indiana Jones into your face.
She went above and beyond to be an abuser. You know?
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, we're supposed to like Vivi because she's a big personality, which is really the only thing she has going for her. She plays tennis marginally well. She
could have been a pro if she didn't have all these kids after she washed out of being in tennis.
She's popular in high school, which is the first sign that you're going to be a failure as an adult. She's a cheerleader.
But she lost all of her patriotism and her cheer when Jacques died.
Yeah, I guess the one she's like, I'm glad we beat Hitler, and then she says an offensive word for Japanese people, but
god damn it. Yeah. Yep, that be true.
She's like, I'm glad we beat the bad guys, but I lost all my patriotism that day. And that's why I never got mad at my children for not liking Vietnam. And it's like, well, aren't you just the best?
What a great mother after all.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the other thing is the yayas come around and they tell the abused kid, you should forgive your mother because she's a lot of fun at parties.
Yeah. I mean, not for you.
Not the parties you invite her to, where she tries to embarrass you and upstage you.
Sita's directorial debut, Vivi shows up drunk and is like, "Who gave you the right to direct an American class?" It's Death of a Salesman, by the way. American classic, my ass. That fucking play sucks. Anyway,
bold stance.
I put it on the Patreon.
Why do you keep doing this?
It lost, Ben. It lost.
So did this.
Or maybe I took it off. I think I took it off because I put Julius Caesar up there instead, or Caesar, whatever the fuck it's called, the
The
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare one? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought about Death of a Salesman, and then I was like, but I hated that. Why would I want to do that to myself? But yeah, she gets drunk and she berates her in front of everyone, and Sitta's like, I just wanted to break down and cry right then and there. And luckily, she has someone who like plays to Vivi's ego, so Vivi backs off.
Don't worry, there's an offensive stereotype of a gay man there.
There is definitely a very gay man who is there in the theater to have Sitta's back. Yes, he's.
Oh, Vivi, honey, darling, could you tell me more about that? I've just got something I've got to show you.
It's this belt.
It's this belt. Payback, bitch.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe that's how Sitta would heal. Like, you know what? Me, you, 5 minutes with the belt.
Do you ever watch?
Then all is forgiven.
You ever watch The Righteous Gemstones?
No.
Shai's been making me watch that. You would love it, actually, if you ever find it. I think it's an HBO thing. I don't know if you have it, but
yeah, I do. As part of my
you should watch The Righteous Gemstones. It's fucking hilarious. There's a scene in season 2 though where there's this guy, Baby Billy, and he abandoned his son. And his adult son is then played by Macaulay Culkin, and he shows up. He's like he's about to have another kid with a much younger woman, and he's like, I've got to fix what I did. And it's this whole long arc of his character, and he finally finds his son, and the son is just, Macaulay Culkin just stares at him dead-eyed, and the guy's like begging, he's like, please, is there anything I could do to make it up to you, please? And Macaulay Culkin looks at him, he's like, can I hit you in the face once as hard as I can with a closed fist? And he's like, well, if that's the only thing you want to do, and he just keeps talking and talking and talking, and then eventually Macaulay Culkin knocks him the fuck out. And that's then he's forgiven. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. That's a beautiful thing I just watched.
Oh yeah, the quote was, Vivi asked Jacques, will you come back? And all I put was, nah, I'm out.
Jacques, will you come back for me? From hell? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I wrote that Vivi's mother's mother destroyed her. So this would be Sitta's great-grandmother destroying her grandmother's diary that she stole, and burned it in front of her. And so then she got back at her mom by stealing her sister's boyfriend, who then cheated on her a bunch. And that's how we got Buggy's relationship.
We've kind of skipped over it, but I want to talk about the controversial boarding school scene.
Oh, that comes up. We haven't skipped over that yet.
Well, Jacques going off to World War II is after that.
Well, he talks about it for a while.
Yeah.
So he talks about, and then he sticks around, and then she starts dating 5 other dudes at once, but she doesn't really pay them any mind because
that's what you did back then.
Jacques. That's what you did back then.
You went.
Question mark? Is that what you did back then?
No, I think dating was a more casual thing back. You were expecting like that's why they made a big deal out of going steady.
Yeah. Yeah, I did have a quote in here that the war has come it has affected her life in a way Austin McConnell doesn't want to know. Anyway, we could just briefly mention that they all skinny dip in the city's water by going into the water tower, and something about the moon.
There's another theme.
Hypnotic.
There's another theme. This one's done a little bit better, of like, women often being desired for their bodies, and these women, they like revel in their bodies. They understand that their bodies are desirable, but they also take possession of them. Like, they desire their bodies for themselves, and so they have this relationship with casual nudity where it's like, it's empowering and helpful, and
Yeah.
especially Teensy. But then Teensy performs
Teensy.
strip teases in front of minors, and it's
Yep.
a little muddled, but less muddled than the other themes, I guess.
Caro's husband left her for a man, and she threatened him with an unloaded gun.
I bet that's a common occurrence. At least it was unloaded. But they become
Yeah.
friends. She actually deals with it. See, that's the difference is Caro actually, like, they made up. She probably apologized at some point, and he probably apologized and was like, you know,
Yeah.
and now they're still chilling.
Yeah, Caro was the one that said she fed you and clothed you, even if she did it with a drink in her hand.
Caro's not right about everything, of course, but
Not even a little bit. Yeah.
yeah.
She had black servants who fed and clothed you, and she drank a heavy amount.
She
And
paid a person to ensure you were fed and clothed. Well, your father paid them, but
yeah,
she supervised.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Perhaps interviewed them.
Yeah, my we drove Mama away. We got to be too much. She went away because of me, and that's when I wrote, "Holy fuck, wow."
Can you
But oh,
imagine?
okay, she made good birthdays, Ben, so
Can
that's
you
okay.
imagine being allowed to think that for 40 years, only to have uh your
I think it was
mom's
Teensy who
only to have your mom's
no, it was
friends
Caro because the
only to have your mom's friends show up to tell you what actually happened, and then when you finally meet your mom again, never
never
mentions it.
talk about it.
Never talk about
Never
it.
mention it again. Yeah, even the other yayas were like, "Wait, did she never talk to you about that?" No, not even once. Not
Oh, here's all the letters we had you write to her while she was
that we didn't
institutionalized that
deliver
we,
to her.
yeah, we didn't send.
We
We put them
never
in the
gave them.
scrapbook. No, they
Yeah,
didn't. They show up with the
they
letters.
showed up with the letters. They're not in the scrapbook. We took those letters that you wrote to her mom, who you were missing, who was gone for several months after she beat you. Um, and we kept them. Those were ours.
They say, I think they say they got permission from the mom to show her.
Kind of. She said, "Does Mama know that you're showing me this?" And they're like, "She knows in her soul." Like, she did not. She did not actually give permission. She was like, "Do what you think is right." And no one went, "There you go again, letting other people raise your kids for you."
Look, I'm sorry. Vivi is just such a piece of shit that the world would be better off without. I don't know how you can read this book and come away with any other conclusion.
All right. On that wonderful note, I'm splitting this episode in half because our discussion went on way longer than we anticipated because there's just so much great stuff in this book. Just a 5 out of 5 book from a certain point of view. So, that means we have to thank all you wonderful sacred patrons, guardians and keeper of the holy vote, where once a month you cast your decision into the divine K-hole and spring forth a book for us to read. And a special gospel shout out to the Celestial Yacht Plan tier subscribers. Shy with a Y. Follow Shy on her own sacred feed on TikTok. Jamie, the Gravy Man, on ifyouwantthegravy.wordpress.com, where he has his own divine secrets that you can access for free, where he covers everything except books. Isekai Sensei Sama. From that time, I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster podcast. Is childhood abuse an isekai? John Bierce, a real author, which I usually say to point out that Ben and I are technically not real authors because of how bad we are. But in this case, I would also apply it to the book we're covering. You can go check out his books and his Patreon. His books being Wabi Award winning The Rack, the Mage Errant series, and The City That Would Eat the World. And finally, last but not least, Keegan, the greatest of all of our, what I call it, sacred yacht plan, divine shit, I can't remember. The greatest of all of them because he hasn't given me anything to shout out, so he gets to have that greatness label. If you want access to the divine secrets of the Wob Wob Brotherhood, check out our Patreon, where we have talking about Tolkien episodes early, occasionally gag reels, and also quarterly bonus episodes, where we talk about books. Where we talk about book that is worse than this one. There's only one. That's it. All right, well, see you next week where we talk even more about unresolved childhood abuse and victimization. I can't wait.